Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new chapter for Answer the Call. I've been talking about this with my channel for a little while. I felt like Answer the Call was starting to lose its luster in terms of every time we had a topic, if we had a topic, people would just tend to agree with me, and I didn't like it. So I was on a cruise a few weeks ago, and I sat there and was like, what am I going to do to continue posting this show? And for me, it was to bring on a co-host. And the first person I thought of was this beautiful soul right here, Croncy, who I wanted somebody who, when I've watched their videos or watched their streams, looked at the world or conversations we've had, he's been on the podcast before, that viewed the world a little bit differently than I did, but was also willing to say what they think and say what they feel always. So for me, Croncy is a glass half full person, while I'm a glass half empty person, and has never shied away from saying what he thinks, no matter what somebody may think about it, with some of his YouTube videos and stuff like that. So I just thought he was going to be a perfect fit. And when I reached out, he immediately said yes. And I'm so excited. Just for transparency, because I know you people are super weird out there. I immediately went to him and said, whatever the YouTube revenue is, because that's quantifiable, we're going to split. If there's ever a sponsor for specifically for the show, we're going to split that, right? So I'm not like using Croncy's time for myself to make money, because you people are weird and you say stupid things like that. But for people who don't know you, and me telling everybody who you are, why don't you tell people who you are as well, Croncy, from your perspective, instead of mine?
So yeah, I'm Croncy. I'm another streamer, a bit of a YouTuber now. I've been doing that a bit more often. That focuses mostly on Star Citizen. I'm from Australia. It's upside down, stuff like that. I don't know. It's a weird country. And I'm here to make Mike look good, essentially. Let's balance out some of those opinions.
Or look bad. I hope you make me look bad sometimes. That's really
yeah, true.
That's what I was looking for. Because the show always made me look good.
Disagree with everything you say.
No. But if you do, don't be afraid to. I won't be afraid to, you know?
Yeah. No, 100%. And I think, we've talked a lot over the last probably like year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of, opinions back and forth, and we've also got sort of like just a love for the game of content creation rather than necessarily Star Citizen.
Yeah. I think we both love
during
the
some
game.
matches, but yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
But I think we also, definitely share a love for content creation and talk about it and all those things. Share a love for mining. We have a mining chat with me, Croncy and Red Monster, and we talk about all the changes that are coming and happening and everything. And Red Monster's already hard at work looking at the files. By the way, I talked to him yesterday. Yeah. He sent me some notes like, "Ooh, this changed."
Yeah, not only that, literally, he's like still in like paternity leave.
Yep.
From having his kids super recently, but it's like, but mining changes though.
Yeah,
it's a little bit more important.
Just a little bit. Oh, you're hungry? No, the miners are hungry. Get out of here, kid. Yeah, but I don't know. So that's kind of the gist of it. A lot of things have happened this week, but I think it's up to you. Do you want to start with the one thing that we were planning on talking about before 320 dropped, and then get into 320?
I think well, like, yeah, there's a lot of news, right? So let's sort of cover that. So for those of you who live under the Star Citizen rock, which is crazy to me, 320 popped up yesterday for me, 2 days ago for a lot of you guys, into Wave 1 and Wave 2. Big Arena Commander updates, lots of minor updates that are sort of hidden behind the curtain, which Mike made a video about today. You guys could go check out that video.
I hope it comes out today. It's with the editor right now. I stayed up really late and put it together, but the title of it is going to be like 10 things that you didn't know about patch 320, something like that. And then turns out I'm going to change one of them, so it's not done yet, so I have to redo it. But yeah, so I mean, I think that the patches, what did you think when you saw the cards for 320? Were you kind of like excited or maybe more indifferent? I saw a lot of people were like, man, 320 looks like it sucks. And I was definitely kind of one of those. I didn't think it looked like it sucked because I knew the mining changes were coming. I knew some things with salvage were coming that I liked, but it definitely isn't a 318. It isn't a 319, and it doesn't have that like huge feature. Like, I wonder what the video that they're gonna make on for this patch will be.
Yeah.
It's probably gonna be very Arena Commander focused, right? I guess that's the huge feature.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the Arena Commander patch, and it's like the biggest one that they've really ever had for the feature, right?
Since 1.0.
Yes. Yeah, which is crazy to me because I only joined after like 3.8. So it's been I think, seeing the cards, I was like, all right, this is very Arena Commander focused. It's very in my wheelhouse, all of these sorts of features, but I was expecting everyone to hate it. And I was expecting everyone to be bored by it. And it's not seeming like that's the case, at least. It seems like after playing it for only a day with all the bugs in a wave 1, wave 2, people are really, really enjoying it, which is awesome. And I'm one of those people. So, I've been loving it.
Yeah, it caught me by surprise that I enjoyed it as much as I did, even from the PU perspective. And that's why I ended up deciding to make that video. It caught me off guard that it's the Arena Commander patch, right? And that is the big feature. It's also the quality of life patch for 318 and 319. Like, all of the quality of life has been, not all of it, but because obviously there's bugs and problems. This is Star Citizen, but a lot of the quality of life issues have now been resolved. I feel from those patches. I think a lot of things are so much better. So I look at it as like the quality of life patch for me, because I'm a PU focused player. I'm not an Arena Commander focused player, and I think most people aren't Arena Commander focused players. Maybe this will shift that. I think, Arena Commander still shows the jank of Star Citizen. It probably shows it better than even the PU does, right? Because you're just in there doing it over and over again. And I played Gun Rush a lot yesterday. And
it is
holy shit, is it jank. It is the most scuffed game I've ever played, but it's the most fun I've had in a long time playing Star Citizen.
Man, imagine playing it with 300 ping. There's no Aussie servers on Arena Commander yet.
Oh, I don't know how. Yeah. Dude, do you owned me, by the way? Croncy was in one game with me, and he just came in and was just like, oh, you can't play, and just die. And then he just left. He did what he needed to do.
Look, you told me to make you look bad.
You
said make you look bad. I was trying to get like screenshots of the AtsCav for a thumbnail that someone else is working on. And I was like, oh, well, you get the AtsCav in the thing. Hopped in, Mike was there, killed him 3 times. Then I realized it was probably just going to be faster for me to do it on live at this stage.
Yes.
And so I just left.
Because it's the last weapon before the end.
Yeah, exactly.
What are your feelings about that game mode? Like, just, it's the only thing in Arena Commander I've done so far. I have done nothing in Arena Commander other than play Gun Rush.
Yeah, it's a classic mode, right? It's this type of, hey, every time you get a kill, you get a new gun. It has existed in a bunch of different FPSs for like the last 30 years.
Yeah.
It's been a very, very long time that we've had this style of game.
I first played it in CSGO.
Yeah. Counter-Strike, it's everywhere. Valorant, it exists. I'm not 1,000% sure, but I think it also did exist in GoldenEye.
Really? Okay.
Like for the N64, I think. Yeah. And if I'm wrong, it's a cool game anyway. Point is, it suits Star Citizen really well. It felt really good. It was giving me very like Halo 3 arcadey vibes.
Oh yeah.
From like back when I would play with my mates on the Xbox and stuff. So yeah, it just feels really good. Just feels really fun. It's nice and quick. I just wish it didn't take so long to scope in on all the snipers. That's like my one main gripe with it.
The snipers are also, the maps aren't very conducive to snipers. Like my
Yeah.
most of my sniper kills are running up to somebody, putting the gun in their chest, like point blank, and going click, 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 just die.
Yeah.
You know, just hoping it works because it's not very easy. The
Yeah.
laser sniper was brutal to use. The oh my god, the original one. I can't think of the name right now. Oh, Chad will say it, but
The arrowhead.
Arrowhead, yes.
Yeah.
I hate that. Used to be my favorite. I hate it now so much.
It's been a bit buggy for a while because it has the sight is like really, really bright. The like green like things on the side are really, really bright. I'm happy that the ATSCAV's in there because even though the ATSCAV is kind of garbage, absolutely fantastic. Such a fun gun to use. Just a cool sound when it like cocks back the electric bullet. I don't know what it is, but
yeah,
it's cool as.
Well, and then just the reload mechanic and everything. It's so good. But I used to play Arena Commander with it was one. I don't think he watches anymore, but he's in my Discord all the time typing like essays. Everybody will say his name in the Twitch chat now. They know who I'm talking about. We used to play just pistols and ASCAVs. And he was we used to just headshot each other left and right. It was so fun. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's where I wish I had more time before this podcast to play other game modes. Did you try master modes at all?
Yeah, so I did pretty much everything except for like the dual fight and the 2v2 Mariah fight because I felt like I had a relatively good understanding of how they would work.
Yeah.
Master modes, the actual shooting is really buggy at the moment because you don't know. Sometimes you just don't get a targeting reticle.
Yeah.
And that kept happening to me. So all I really got from master modes was the actual movement and like maneuvering of the ships, and it feels completely different in a good way.
Okay.
I've heard from people who played much like long ago than I did that it feels a lot like the pre 2.6 or like the 2.6 flight model, that sort of thing. So for those of you that are 90 years old, take that as you will.
Wow. my gray beard is getting grayer now. Because I was there back in those days, but I've only played it in Evo, and I've heard it's changed quite a bit since coming to this, but I had a really hard time with it. But I'm not willing to like say my feelings on it really yet because I didn't give it enough time. So like I played a lot of gun game. I feel like I could talk about Gun Rush or whatever and say like, hey, it's scuffed, and hopefully we fix a lot of issues with the game because of it. Because it's really highlighting them, but it's super fun. I can't say the same thing for master modes. For me, it just highlighted that I have a lot to learn, and I'm really bad at piloting, I think. Because the one thing I will say is I could see an objectively bad PvPer that I was fighting against, and I struggled to kill them. And it was really, I was like, damn, this sucks. Like I know I'm not this bad. Like I was training with PvPers and I was starting to beat like mid-level PvPers, and then they put this patch out and I can't kill anything. So I was like, damn, this isn't fun. But other than that, I've just stayed in the PU. So so how much time have you spent in the PU on 320?
Yesterday it was like mostly PU trying to get the whole C to work. That I
got lucky.
I heard
it worked perfectly.
It just keeps working for you.
Yeah, I only used it once, so I got lucky. I played in the same server without a 30K the entire day yesterday. So like,
oh wow,
super lucky. Everyone's saying that it's really like crashy. I didn't crash the desktop. Nothing today. More problems, but the whole C worked nearly perfectly. I just had a couple of issues later on, but I did a buy and a sell without any problems from the start. It's cool, but there's so much like we didn't think this through completely, or if we did, we wanted to get the patch out and didn't finish all the things. I'm pretty sure if anybody flies into the box while you're collecting cargo or selling it, they just cancel it. So like the opportunity for trolling is just endless. You're just out in the open. It's super weird. But I will say like the time that it took to add the cargo on felt good. And I think it's a really good step in the right direction. Also, I couldn't see it at the time when I was playing, but there is a little bit of an economic loop for you to make some trades, and it's
Yep.
like 200K per full hull C you're gonna make per run. So it's not a ton,
Yeah.
but it is fun, and the ship interior is like kind of cool. What do you think about the ship interior?
Yes. Yeah, they did not do the interior justice in the ISCs when they showed off the Hull C at all. It looks way cooler inside than I think they showed off.
What did you like about it the most?
It feels like an industrial ship. It's
Sure.
one of the reasons why I really liked the Raft is the interior was really well designed to look like an industrial ship and look
Yeah.
like people who live there, and like nothing like the Starfarer where there's like tons of open spaces where it's like, why would you have those open spaces? You're losing money on those, like theoretically, right?
Yeah.
So I think they did a really good job of that. The going through the spindle, like through the spine, is kind of cool when it works, and when it doesn't work, you end up in space. But that was kind of cool. And then also they've obviously got, like, as they've been doing with a lot of ships recently, it's very future proofed. Like, it's got the spots for the fire extinguishers. It's got the spots where you can tell this is where the engineering stuff is going to happen, that sort of thing. So
yeah, there's like a computer slot. There's life support now. So it's definitely showing their thoughts around resource management for ships.
Yep.
It also tells us that they're now going to have to go through every single ship and put those things in,
yeah,
which is kind of like, here we go.
Diamond standard.
I did not like the engineering area as much. I thought that I felt that they wasted a lot of space. There was the area where you got dressed, like, and then there was a very similar looking area that was the escape pods. And I was kind of like, I would have maybe wanted to see a little bit different or more. If we go upstairs, that's where I fell in love with the ship. Is the hab area looks amazing. It looks straight out of sci-fi. Like, I just felt like I walked into that room and I felt like I was in a sci-fi show, movie, whatever. It was super immersive, super good. And then the turret is cool. The turret slot upstairs seems specifically for the tractor beam.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to see that separated into 4 seats downstairs, because it's 4 different turrets that all have tractor beams on them, I believe, and can move the cargo between the things. I would have loved to see 4 people moving the cargo instead of 1 person that can swap between 4 different tractor beams. And then the co-pilot has access to the 2 weapon turrets. That's where I was like a little bit weirded out with the ship. I was like, have you ever been, I'm assuming you have been in the A2?
Yeah.
So you know the room with like all the turret gunners in it?
Yeah.
I was kind of like thinking that we can have had something like that. I thought that would have been sick.
That's fair enough, but you got to remember it's just the Hull C, right? We're not really talking about like a gunship or anything here. And I don't think it's realistic that we're ever going to see, literally forever, you're ever going to see like 7 people in a Hull C. So at that point, that becomes wasted space if you did that, right?
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, most people are probably going to like one-man it, right? I would assume.
Of course, it's Star
They
Citizen.
probably shouldn't, but
they one-man everything.
Yeah.
One thing we disagree on, right? I think listen. Croncy is a solo molar, guys, and I am not.
What? No, I'm not. How dare you?
Really?
No, I hate solo moles.
Oh, hell yeah! Then we agree on this.
Wow.
Who is it? Is it Red?
We disagree with the fact that you agree. How dare?
Shit. So it's Red Monster then.
Possibly, yeah. I think so.
Okay, I think it was somebody in our group that is like that solo moles a lot. Okay, I'm sorry. I take it back, because I can't stand the solo mole. That's I thought you were a solo molar. I think you were testing one day, and I was watching you on stream.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
Yeah, and I will do a thing of like, I'll be like, does it make economic sense to do this or whatever, or like what's your money that you can make here or whatever. But like, I will never solo mole. I always just force my viewers to play with me, because that way someone has to play with me.
True. Or use a prospector. What's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
for me, the thing that I hated about the mole before the changes was that everybody was solo mulling it, and there was no argument to not, and there was never an argument to have players in the ship. And now it's sort of the opposite, but now people are feeling that there's no reason to use a prospector, and I was like, that's not the case. Prospector's awesome. Like, it flies, it's more maneuverable, like you could break a lot of things. Like, I didn't get it.
Yeah, exactly. It's the whole thing that people still sort of don't understand, because the gameplay is not really there yet, but like, of hammerhead versus like 8 arrows or whatever.
Yeah.
And people don't really understand that at least it's supposed to be that there is a reason that you would take either one of those for certain situations. And people sort of just go, oh, well, nah, now this ship is worthless. It's like, it's not, because you need to find friends.
Yeah.
And we play Star Citizen. We don't have friends.
True. Did you mine it all?
A little bit, just barely.
What'd you think?
Just enough to check that instability was different. My initial like 20-minute session, I couldn't find many rocks at all, but every single rock I found was good. That's the only sort of thing that I've been able to find.
So I'll try it, dude. It's so good, because I've had a lot more time with it, so it's not really fair.
Yeah.
So the one thing that I think really changes the game potentially is with the mole and people solo moling.
Yeah.
So I hope that they eventually do this, and they might need to, is that the mole should only be able to carry the size 2 lasers, and I imagine everyone is going to have size 2 lasers on their mole.
Yeah.
Size 2 lasers are more powerful. The more power you put into a rock, the higher your instability is, the more challenging it will be to stay in the green zone. So you are using a mole, you break a 15k mass rock, and then what? What are you left with? You're left with very small rocks that you have high instability because you have too much power for them, and it becomes really challenging. So that's like one of the cool things that I think is changing the game that maybe people didn't really recognize or realize, because they've only jumped into it for a little bit. The size of the rock plays into it too. I think the bigger the rock, the bigger the instability. I think maybe it makes sense to do it the other way around. I have to look into that a little bit more. But in general, it just, for me, it just feels right. Where before it felt so wrong to know that you can break this rock and to not have the power go up, and you're just going, what do I do here? Now you know the power is going to go up. It's just, how fast is it going to go up? Is it going to go up to a point where you can't control it, or is it going to go up to a point where you can control it? And yeah, there's a lot more thinking choices, and the multi-crew gets crazy. I've done some in EVA, I've done some cool multi-crew stuff where you really everybody had to communicate. So without any NDA breaking, and to be honest, I don't give a shit anymore, because CIG clearly doesn't care. But the without super breaking NDA is you really have to communicate, and I like that. So I'm excited for we're definitely gonna do a podcast, me, you, and Red again when Red's back.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of what you were just saying, we were sort of talking about when we did the ATC with Red. Yeah, about like, you know, all these steps sort of are starting to work, but like a couple of things are just making it either tediously easy by, you know, just maxing out green zone, that sort of thing, or it just doesn't feel challenging enough, right? And one of the things we mentioned at that time was small rocks are still too easy to break.
Yep.
So yeah, no, that's fantastic. That's exactly what I would want to happen. What?
The one thing that I talked to Red about when he looked at the files was that the green zone can, and this is a big thing, the green zone can not get bigger than 50%. The full green zone builds are gone. So you're going to have to mine. You're going to actually have to put power in.
yeah, fantastic, but also now 100 Spectrum threads about how it's too hard to mine.
Yeah. The thing is it's super weird. In my experiences, it felt too easy.
Yeah.
So if you're able to power the rock up, the lower you want it at the lowest power possible, and you can just basically kind of sit back sometimes. I've noticed that, but I didn't.
Yeah.
It is very difficult to find like the super unstable rocks. So once you do find super unstable rocks, and we give it more time, I imagine we'll find it to be more difficult. I actually saw. So I did a video yesterday on just reading the patch notes, and I explained that they 100x'd the instability.
Yeah.
And people were like, that's way too high. They kept it, they said that they were just doing that in the PTU. They're going to change it 100%. They're not going to change it. This is where it's going to stay because it actually works and makes sense. And people are just looking at 100 times worse and thinking that it's worse. It's not. I mean, your experiences were pretty normal, but I'm assuming when you did mine something, right? Do you remember what the instability numbers were?
Yeah. It was going, so like, yeah, previously it would be, you'd be mining instability up to like 9 or 10 or something, and every single rock I had was above like 30.
Yeah.
There was a couple that were like 170 and stuff. So yeah, that's gone way up. But like, of course it has, because instability, even with the changes that happened in 3.19, just kind of meant nothing still. Just didn't do anything.
In 3.19,
well, sometimes they would do stuff, but like
they would
most
do the
of the time,
opposite of instability. What you think instability would be, right? It would make your laser power go down, and you're just like, what?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think the other thing is that it now just affects the charge rate, how quickly the bar goes up, never down. So that's a big thing. The way they distributed stuff is now labeled off of like C-type and all that again. So that's good. Have you seen the salvage missions?
Yes. So someone told me about your fantastic ventures that you went into yesterday. And so I decided to do it today. Went off to the In Wake of Disaster mission.
It's bonkers.
We found a Hercules there. That initially I thought it was one to salvage, but it was like they had already been collecting all the stuff around that had over. So someone will correct me. It was something like it was either over 15 million or over 19 million UEC worth of Weevil eggs.
Oh yeah, just Weevil eggs. I had
insane
350 SCU of maize in just one ship. I had 100 and something of maize in another. So to be clear with everybody, Elliot, the person, Elliot Maltby, you've seen him on SCL, all that stuff. I talked to him about it in Evo a little bit, and we were kind of like, all right, let's see how it plays out or whatever. And when that was just on paper, I never got the opportunity to actually see it. And Evo's very difficult to play, so I never got the opportunity to really see it there. I just knew what the numbers were kind of supposed to look like. My ship had like 57 million credits between two ships. At the Wake of Disaster that I had. So Elliot was here watching my stream today while we were looking at it, and he's going to look at it. So it's going to get nerfed, but I don't think we can call it a nerf. I think it's going to be like unexploited, right? And it's still, the goal is still to make it something that you absolutely want to fight over. For me, let me ask you this, Croncy. Would you, and after you answer this, I have to say something. And before I ask you this, I'm going to say something. Answer the call. Yes, we have a new co-host. We're going to be doing this together every week. Is still a call-in show. So we didn't say that at the beginning. This isn't the way the show, it's not just going to be me and Croncy every week. I still want it to be you guys. So if there's anything that we talk about today, and we're going to get into some more polarizing topics as we go, that you want to participate in, jump in the green room on Discord, discord.gg/SaltEMike. It's right at the top. There's a little green circle there. That's where you jump in, and we'll filter you in and get you in to talk with us. So with that said, would you still fight over Wake of Disaster if there was 20 boxes of Gasping Weevil eggs or 15 boxes of Gasping, SCU? It's still, Gasping Weevil eggs is 110,000 per SCU. if it's 10 of them, it's still 1,000,000 credits, right?
Yeah.
So we're not, this is still something to fight over. I'm not saying that's what the numbers are going to be. Elliot's looking at it. My feedback was you can have less because at Wake, it was all really good stuff. It wasn't a mixture. I think you can mix in some low end, medium, high, and then this super high stuff like Weevil eggs and Maze and stuff. That was my thing, is it would be cool to have to filter through it, right?
Yeah.
And then that should help because now it takes time.
Yeah, exactly. I think one of the biggest things is that, like, you can have really garbage materials in there because it's not going to take you 7 hours to move, 30 SCU of iron.
Yeah.
It'll be one. You just move the 132 SCU crate or whatever. So you can still have the cargo numbers be high and then still have a couple of nuggets of like, here's some Weevil eggs, here's some Quantanium, whatever.
Yeah.
And people will still want to fight over it. I was saying that today though. I was like, if they really want to make people fight over it, like a 30 million UEC haul, that's going to do it. People are going to come and do this mission for sure.
Yeah.
But that's way too much. It is incredibly drastic.
My slight argument, and I asked him like what's possible, what's not, in terms of like how the system works, and he sort of said that this maybe is possible. Is what I would love for it to be is like, you've played WoW, you've played MMOs, right? Well, certain things have like incredibly low drop rates, but you go to them and you fight for those things because of the chance of having that drop rate. When Wake drops, I would love to have that 50 million possibility, but have it be incredibly low and everybody goes there to find out. Maybe. I don't know if that's necessarily the best way to think about it, but the other thing is that it is possible to fill a C2 with drugs. It is possible to fill a whole C with drugs. Well, no, it's not because of where you buy stuff, but I just mean that amount of SCU if you take the time to do it. So in reality, if you want to think like that would never happen, it could. There is the possibility of getting a full SCU of Quantanium. It just takes so long. My argument was every 2 hours Wake of Disaster happens. I had 100 SCU of Quantanium at a max level unlawful salvage mission. So that was 30 minutes before it was done. I never even did an unlawful mission for salvage in order to get it. I did all the lawful ones. All I had to do was 2 lawful missions, and now I can just make 142 SCU of Quantanium appear. Compare that to how long it takes to mine and refine it. Doesn't really seem fair. So for me, that's where the balance is. But then I thought in my head, well, yeah, but this is a cargo hauler that was destroyed and it's out there. Like, these are possible things that can happen. They should be able to happen. Maybe just not that often,
Yeah, higher likelihood is definitely a good way to do it. I will say it did seem like salvaging itself, but possibly bugged, but it's much slower than it was in 3.19, and so I actually kind of like that. But only in regards to like, as long as we still can find these rare boxes, just not to this extent, but like still can find, good weapons on the ships to sell, good cargo inside to sell. And possibly now, I don't know where the like technical constraints are here, but the fact that they said that, guns and items and whatever can attach to the cargo grid now might not be working currently in PTU, but it is in the patch notes.
I have seen it work.
Okay, fantastic.
Yes.
I wonder what the possibility of spawning that stuff in there is, because that would be another thing, so that we're not just looting cargo, but maybe we're looting a cool railgun skin, or we're looting a cool helmet, or whatever it is.
I gotta stand up for that. That is the best. That is the best feedback, best take, best anything that can happen in. Oh, I just got chills. Cause think about all the possibilities.
Exactly.
I love that. I mean, everybody knows I'm a loot goblin, and I love that stuff. And just imagine opening up a ship. What the heck? Sorry, I don't know if you can hear that, but my phone just started playing a YouTube video and I never touched it. So there's ghosts in here.
It knows its react time.
Yeah. Dude, just for me to open a ship and not know what's inside and then just unique rare guns, armors. It's just the possibilities are endless. I'll always go back to, unfortunately, armor isn't like useful or weapons all feel the same or whatever, but it doesn't matter, you know?
I mean, 90% of this game is I like things that look cool. And I don't think anyone disagrees with that. We all kind of like things that look cool, right? So
probably what brought us
here. Yeah, kind of, yeah. But yeah, like even like, you know, skins have now, the reason that skins are in every game that's ever existed now since like 2013 or whatever is because people want their things to look cool. So there's always lots of value to it.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, backpacks were snapping to the grid. One of my favorite things was I saw an image of like a 1 SCU and 2 SCU container that you fill stuff in. That also snaps to the grid. So spawning in a 1 SCU container with shit inside of it, that would be so cool, right? You know, again, possibilities are endless. I'm so happy you said that. I never thought of that as like a possibility to spawn it in. That we could put it there. But now you're talking about like a C2 with mining attachments and mining lasers and guns and quantum drives, right? Anything is possible now if all these things can go. And I don't know, for me, that's where maybe I've been a little bit more happy this year. Is it feels like we're moving forward for the first time in like 5 years. So yeah,
I can't say I agree with that, but I also haven't been playing for longer than 5 years.
Yeah.
So like I came into the game just before Microtech came out, and so I got to see Microtech come out, new inventory, prisons, the complete like overhaul of ships in 3.14. All of that happened really close to when I first started playing. So for me, it's felt like it's been like a ball rolling up the hill, not down the hill. That would be bad for this entire time. So I would actually say the last 2 years has felt worse for me at least. Yeah.
Fair. I think when 3.15 dropped and they put inventory and looting in, it was like, holy shit, we're moving forward. And then it sort of slowed down, and now it feels like they're picking back up, right?
Yeah. This patch in particular, even though once again a lot of the features that we were just talking about that we're excited for aren't the front-facing feature of the patch, are super impactful, and they're absolutely fantastic, and they're making the game feel a lot better. So yeah,
for sure. I mean, I can't stop thinking about what could possibly spawn in a C2 or whatever.
Get Elliot on it.
Yeah, there's some problems though. Spawn in a Carrick, can't get anything out of it now.
Sort of.
You could. It's a 1 SCU door. That's it.
Yeah, no, I know. I do need to double check though. When we blew up the Carrick, because we went to go loot a Carrick, we blew up the Carrick. The thing that, the module that holds all the cargo was movable with the tractor beam.
Oh,
and so that makes
huge.
me wonder. Yeah, it's massive, but you know they upped the weight limits on the tractor beams, so we were able to move that whole thing after we blew up the Carrick, which makes, well, first off, it means it's an interactable object in a way, but also does that mean we can do that before blowing it up? Like, can we turn off ports and then move it? Maybe. Does it fit in a whole C, or is it too big? It itself doesn't, but you can take the cargo out of it.
Oh,
from there. Yeah.
Interesting. So why not just make them movable? We even know the kid who's in charge of it.
Yeah.
Remember the SCL with the kid that's like, yep, the Carrick is mine. I'm the one who's gonna do the things. We know who you are. Get on it. Because if you could pull them out and then pull the cargo out, that'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it'd be fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to think of other things because it's not, again, there isn't a lot in the PU.
Tank battles.
Okay, I haven't done it. I haven't done a tank battle since we did a tank battle. Like, what was that, a year and a half ago?
Yeah, it was a while ago. And they're fantastic. They're awesome. They are very buggy, and you will crash the desktop. So
Okay.
that's wave one stuff. When they work, they are amazing. They're so much fun. Specifically, the team tanks is like really, really fun. So
Ooh,
I've been
okay.
loving that. Yeah.
We'll have to jump in and I'll jump into a match with you one day. But
Yeah, for sure.
did you notice the other thing with the ground vehicle changes that your
Yes.
shit it's not automatically flipping anymore if you
Yeah.
flip over, so you got to be careful. Don't be driving around like a maniac. But some are you're a big racer. I know you like your racing. Some are racy now because
Yeah.
they turn tight, and some are not. But the tank
Yeah.
in particular is not very racy, but which is understandable. So I don't know. What are your feelings about all that?
The PTV is crazy, and when they get the Orison track working again, because it's not working at the moment in the patch, or at least it hasn't the couple of times I've gone there.
Okay.
I don't know how you're going to complete a lap, so that's going to be interesting. It's way faster, but it also just slides everywhere now. It's impossible to control. So
Oh, so it
that'll
doesn't
be an
have.
interesting one.
So it has tons of understeer instead of oversteer now because it had so much oversteer before.
It is more oversteer.
Oh,
So like the
okay.
oversteer previously, you could learn. You
Yeah.
could learn to control it, and like you would get some good times on the BTV track when it worked. But now it's just it's too fast, and the oversteer is just swinging it around too much. But some of the vehicles, like the Rover, finally feels like what it should. Like it feels heavy, and it actually has traction with the ground. So that's fantastic. The STV feels appropriately fast. It's a racer. It was kind of fast before, but it still had nothing on the Cyclone RC. Now it's it's a little bit better. So that's felt pretty good. But yeah, the tank needs some work regardless. Yeah. I don't think they said that they did anything to the tank this time, but something happened. Something happened this patch to make the tank worse.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Maybe the tinfoil hat people will say so. The tank needs to be worse, so you buy the storm.
The storm,
right? The tinfoil hats will come out on that one probably. But dude, the Cyclone RC is like a Formula One car. It's insane.
Yeah.
I don't know how many G's I was pulling on it, but it was wild. Like my neck would have broken. DJ said he commented on Spectrum about it in Twitch chat. Now I don't know what he said.
Yeah, I'll have to have a look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give him an opportunity to maybe comment here because I only have 3 monitors and all of them are being used at the moment. So I can't. If I was to bring one up, I would lose something for the show. So unfortunately, I could probably bring it up on my phone.
All the monitors are just a giant SaltEMike face.
Yeah, like here's what I'm afraid of: is if I click this, is it going to go over your face? Yep. There it goes. So that's why I didn't want to do that. But there we go. You're back. So I'll just read what he said. I think he said, thanks for your feedback. We're investigating the issue with the tank's floatiness. While you expect some low G maps like Daymar and Yella, it's way more intended. We verified all the tunings are correct, so it appears to be a physics issue. There you go. And I'll just read, just summarize it real quick. And it's something that they're looking at. And I think that is probably the most telling thing. Also, we do the show in the afternoon. My wife makes her smoothie, so if you hear it in my mic, I do apologize. Everyone says my mic's pretty good, and they don't usually hear it, but then sometimes I hear people complain. The thing that I'm noticing is DJ is like as far as I'm aware, is the head of Arena Commander development stuff, right? Yeah. Maybe sort of, but he's not the one who decides if the tank is going to be balanced in a certain way. But the way he's responding to that thread is like, they're looking into issues with the specific things in their game mode, not just their game mode. And prior to that, CIG always felt hyper segmented. And to be honest, I think it still really does. And I think that's something they need to be a lot better with is, our team made this thing, but another team has to fix the problem with this, or it's not going to work. Well, if your initiative is this thing, then somebody's got to talk together and make sure that the tank is coming in really good, right? We can't have, you were around for Vandal Mask, right? the first Vandal Mask
Yeah.
event. Remember the one?
I wasn't around for the first one. I wasn't around for the first one, but from all of your videos and discussions, I feel like I've gotten a pretty good summary of everything that happened.
Maybe there's one slight detail that maybe. Do you know that a ship that you had to use was completely broken?
No, I didn't know that.
So there were 2 ships that you can use. So it wasn't just kill 50 players. You had to do it in a Gladius or a Blade or Glaive.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
And do you ever have the bug where your cockpit would just open and close like this all the time while you were flying?
I don't think so, but that sounds like an interesting bug.
It was insane, and you would get hit. You, the player, would get hit when the cockpit was open and die. So it was like, it was horrible, okay? But in the Blade or the Glaive, whichever it was, how does the cockpit open? It doesn't open. It goes down like this. So you have this bug, and your guy is just going like this, and you can't see anything. So nobody can use the Vandal ship to complete the Vandal Mask event. Like, it would have been insane. So it was one of those things where, like, the communication just wasn't there of, like, I need this ship to work. Can we QA this ship? And nobody did, right? So, like, even going back to then, there's just been, like, lots of examples of that. And it feels like, you know, in a positive way, that there's some working together here. And if what they said about Arena Commander is to be true, it's still a test bed, and they're going to use it to hopefully fix a lot of things. But I'm the glass half empty, and we'll see. I don't believe it until I see it, because I've heard this bullshit since 2013, 2014 with Arena Commander. We're going to figure out the flight model in Arena Commander while we're still figuring it out in Arena Commander. So
I will say one thing that's kind of funny is, like, you know, we've got all of these as experimental modes that are deliberately designed to be heavily modified between patches and all these sorts of things, right? And yet the vitriol from people of, like, even like the smallest thing being wrong in the mode, whether it's master modes or like a specific thing that's happening with the tanks or with gun rush or whatever, is just really funny to me. It's called experimental mode. This is not locked in. That's the whole point.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. I the only way for me to look at Discord messages while we're going is on the phone, so I do have to look at the phone. It might look rude at times. I apologize. Because we're in Discord. So I will I'm figuring out that in order to do the show, we're going to have to do it a little bit differently in the future. But yes, there's a lot of... This is the reason why they have Evocati. Is because the moment people join the patch and see changes that they like or they don't like or whatever, it gets much louder the moment you get to wave 1, and you can't get through the noise to get to the actual feedback. I think the high-end PvPers, I was saying this early on, is a lot of them don't appear to like Master Votes very much. I said that there's got to be some level of bias there. Like, you're super high end, you're killing everybody, it's super easy, and now it's not. I think the intention behind it is to make the skill gap a little bit smaller, and you know. But at the same time, all the people I talk to just want the game to be fun, and they're not enjoying it either. It was a similar experience to me, so it's hard for me to disagree with. But again, how I feel about it is, did you try Endless Vandal Swarm in Master Modes?
No, I tried it in normal because I thought normal was still endless, and it wasn't, and then it finished.
Oh, okay.
I haven't tried Endless Vandal Swarm yet.
Do it. The one bit of feedback I can give around Master Modes is it clearly is tuned for PvE and not yet for PvP. Okay. Do Endless Vandal Swarm. It's a lot of fun. It's pretty intense, pretty crazy, a lot of fun. And I think, you know, Squadron 42 has been the focus, and it sort of showed for me there. And that's where I had that's where I think it needs a lot more time. It just comes down to, I think, anybody who's upset now about Master Modes, I think no matter what your feelings are validated or valid, No matter how angry, you're yelling, you're screaming, you're banging your fists around, because this is something that we had to wait 2+ years for, and it's not really ready for us to have in our hands, and I don't think
Yeah.
that's good, right? Like, that's just
Okay.
my feeling on it. Is it's like, man, we waited so long for this that, yeah, it's gonna get tweaked, it's gonna change, and all that. It's like, did it take DJ and the Arena Commander team to make Arena Commander for us to have this? What took so long? Because it would have been really good to gradually give that feedback, and not to.
Mm.
To me, it almost feels like 2 years wasted in a way. I know it's not, but it's like, it's just like, what's going on, And that's where I'm at.
I will say, in regards to the master modes, I this morning had a meeting with a couple of the guys from ramming department.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to be a significantly better commentator for the PvP community. Give them a little bit more respect in that regard.
Yeah.
And at least the guys that I was talking to were all in favor of the changes with tweaks.
Yes.
Just in general, because they were like, all right, well, yeah, like we can't fly how we used to before, but that's fine. We're okay with that. We're okay with relearning the whole thing. And a lot of the things that I have seen from people who are mad about those changes, it is mostly, this is different, and I don't like different. It's the exact same thing that happened with the Prospector miners when 3.19 came out, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I've seen. So I think it's just another sort of like, it's all right. You guys will start enjoying it eventually, probably, and you're going to still absolutely roll all of us. Don't worry. Your skill will still be unmatched. It's just, you got to do a new thing now. So
yeah, maybe it's, we don't know what that new thing is yet. I feel like the whole tricording and all that stuff, it didn't, people, I'm not 100% sure if people figured that out like right away, right? I think like the way people fly and fight now has gradually become the way they fly and fight in 3.19, and now, well, I guess in 3.20 still as well, right? And the PU and everything, outside of the Master Mode's experimental mode. But I think, sure, there'll be tweaks, people will learn, or they'll quit. And because here's the deal is that's where we are now. You're either going to learn to adjust to this, or you're going to quit, because this is it. I don't think they're going to do this again. And I'm not telling people to quit. Don't think that that's what I'm putting out there. I don't want you to quit. I want everybody to have fun. But to me, that's the vibe that I'm getting from CIG. Not that they're telling you to quit either. It's that this is it. This is what we decided, and this is going to be the gist of the way things are going to work. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. Not every game is for everybody.
Yeah. I'm reserving a lot of my opinions on master modes in general until we see how it applies to more than just the Gladius.
Yeah.
I think that's very important too. It's I mean the classic phrase in Star Citizen is always it's early days. Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. I also, particularly in like, there's a big disconnect between single fighter ships versus multi-crew, and in general in the past multi-crew has kind of got shafted to the side in terms of like competitiveness, I guess. And seeing how master modes might tie into that is going to be really important too. So yeah,
I'll give you a preview to my 10 things you may not have seen in or whatever video, guys. Is people who've watched my stream might have noticed it. I don't know if this is a real thing or not, but I'm thinking it might be. I'm noticing on industry style ships, Prospector, Vulture, Hull C. Those are all the industry styles. Those are the only 3 I've flown so far, I think. If you put your capacitor into engines, the amount of time that I'm boosting is like way longer than I remember it being. So
yeah, that number's been buffed or something, it seems, for sure. I felt the same thing.
Felt the same thing? Okay, so it's not just me. And what I'm thinking is master modes change kind of coming into the PU a little bit early because master modes, you switch modes, you do have a higher top end speed, and then so this is the flea. This is the ability. So industry ships aren't getting more guns, right? They may not get more armor. They may not get a ton more like ship health to fight people off. It sounds like they're getting a blink, maybe. You know, if you want to use like terms like MOBA terms and stuff, is stuff like that. That's what I'm seeing, and I think that was like really kind of interesting. That got my what are they thinking here? Because that was always my argument. Is PvPers would always say, "Well, just get protection," and it's like, well, if somebody wants to kill me specifically in the Prospector, they can fly as fast as they want past my protection and kill me super quickly. So where's the balance between me and the light fighter or me and the medium fighter or whatever, right? And it doesn't need to make it so they're perfectly balanced, but you got to give me a chance to get out. And I think that's maybe what they're thinking about there. And I thought that was super cool.
Yeah, possibly. One, I really want to know specifically, and like we've seen like speed changes and stuff, but like how interceptors are going to work with the whole master modes change. Because I would really want interceptors to, you know, intercept and have a significantly higher speed at like not in nav mode. And actually be able to chase or whatnot. But once again, this is all just stuff that it's gonna be a while till we see it. I don't think we're gonna see anything except for the Gladius and master modes for like 6 months minimum.
Yeah,
right.
I think
like it'll be a while.
Yeah, and especially because there's been a lot of polarization around people's feelings about it. They're probably going to want to address some of that. I mean, that was the one thing that I just like begged. Like, I know people are going to be upset, and you're going to hear them complaining, and I am a complainer. But I think sometimes there is behind the complaints, there's some meat that might actually be good feedback. And I hope that instead of just hearing the complaints and going, ugh, again, these guys, maybe that there's a little something to, feedback there that's worth listening to. And I think that most of them will listen to it, and we'll see. But I think what they want to do is probably get that Gladius really dialed in and then spread from there. But yeah, so we'll see. I agree. I don't think we're going to get much out of experimental modes. We're about an hour in. I'm gonna ask our Twitch chat if I've been a good co-host, because I feel like I've been talking a lot. I feel like I'm still in like this is my show mode. So I if you watch on YouTube, I want you to leave a comment down below and give as much feedback on this as possible, because I want the show to be as good as possible, and I want it to be as much of Croncy's show now as it is mine. So just hold me accountable, please. Okay? Maybe we'll make an emote that tells me to shut up. I wore the saltying shirt on purpose. There is an emote for it. But yeah, I think we're about an hour in, and I feel like we've covered most of the stuff for the PU from me. Is there anything else that stuck out to you that you might want to touch on?
There's a lot of like very, very minor things, but kind of like what you said, just once again, every patch since probably like 3.17, they've just added in a bunch of like small quality of life things that have just made the game so much better. That you forget about immediately, but like in the moment right now, we can say it's a lot better. Even just things like, did you notice just like when you call your ships, the font that you see on your ship is just much nicer. It's got a nice little drop shadow behind it. It's just easier to see. Stuff like that. Actually, like, mwah, every single time. Love it. So other than that, yeah, we kind of talked about pretty much everything in the patch, I think.
Yeah, it's not a huge patch. I mean, Arena Commander stuff is cool, but it's Arena Commander, the first things. I think what comes next with that team is what really matters. It's like, they talked about reputation, rewards, all that stuff, making it an actual game that people want to play instead of not a game that people don't want to play. Because I think they sort of have, it's risen from the dead, and now it's about actually making it super fun and a game that, you want to kill some time in, right? So I think there should be some really cool things to come from there. I guess the only thing from I think a subject that you can really speak on that I can't, that I wanted to ask you about was racing. How was
Yeah.
the Arena Commander racing maps that came from the PU? Was the frame rate good? Did it was it different? No shit.
They're bugged.
Oh, no way. Like they don't work at all?
So yeah, so right now you can't get into my two favorite racetracks in the verse, which is Yadar Valley and Snake Pit. Currently, it just you infinite load when you try to get into those servers, unfortunately. But we have atmospheric racing still now in Arena Commander, which is the much more common and much more popular form of racing in the verse. So we've gotten to see that for the majority of time, and it's fantastic. It's really good. It feels way better, especially in those locations. Actually, you're not in space. Why am I feeling like I'm in space in live, right?
Yeah.
The biggest thing, though, is also just... so I know it apparently used to be a thing way back when. Once again, guys, remember, I'm a 2019 baby. But actually being able to race, actually having 4 people in a race and racing... It's way better. It's so much more fun. Yeah, actually racing against others in Arena Commander. This is exactly the sort of thing that all of us have wanted for ages, right? So That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Sweet. Yeah, I don't know. I really thought I was coming into this and I was going to be like, bro, give Starfield, dude. I don't even care about Arena Commander or 320. Just give Starfield. 320 doesn't matter. And now I'm like, man, Starfield can wait another couple weeks, I think, and I'd be all right with some of the things. PU, I think I got bored relatively quickly just because it's wave 1. Not everyone's in. I've been playing the PU a ton off stream. So Cutlet and his guys, it's been really cool. I've shared it a little bit with my stream. I don't know how much I've shared it with my YouTube channel, but they'll do a piracy hit, and then they just call us and tell us where it is, and we move all the product, my org, and then we split the money. So it's been like they can do what they like, we do what we like, and it's been super, super good. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like once we're in that place where we can I don't know, where I could play with everybody, and I think that'll be a lot better in terms of the PU. I think I'm already getting bored of it, and I just want to play Gun Rush. But I also want to jump in those racing modes. That's the next thing for me, I think.
Yeah. I was getting very bored of the PU the last couple of months, because a lot of the stuff that sort of gets me excited to play the PU really is the dynamic events. And they'll sate me for a certain amount of time. The last dynamic event we had was at the beginning of June. We had Jumptown, like the most recent dynamic event, beginning of June, we had Jumptown. And it was great. I had a fantastic time. And then it was just nothing. And so I was like, all right, well, what can I do? I can do like NPC bounties. I can do player bounties. I'm getting absolutely face rolled.
Yeah.
I can get more UEC. Like we're probably going to wipe again next patch. Like I don't really, like I don't need to buy a Carrick sort of thing. So I was getting really bored of that, which is why I was really happy that Baldur's Gate 3 came out at the start of the month.
Yeah.
But now I want to play again. I really want to play the PU again, because now we're going to have access to the Hull C, which is not a ship I personally care about that much. The Hull E I might, because it's just so absurdly large.
Yeah.
But the fact that that's in the game means people are going to be doing a lot more trading, which means there's going to be more like PvP hits that are going to create gameplay loops. The fact that the new salvage missions are okay. Like I said, the salvaging itself is very slow, so it felt a bit tedious, but they're like decent money if you want to like play Brain Dead for a little bit, right? Which I always love.
That's my style.
Exactly. Yeah. And then just sort of what it means for the future, right? So I'm probably going to be playing a lot more PU, significantly more PU than I have in the last 2 months, just because of this.
Yeah.
Even though it's the Arena Commander patch.
I think I'm going to be playing it a ton because I really like doing the big mining ops, and I think if we get rid of the instability bug, that just turns those on, and here we go. I mean, another big thing with mining, if it says impossible, it usually is, like almost 100% of the time, so that's really good. All right, so we're about an hour in. Our first caller's on the line. You excited? This is Science. He's actually in my org.
Okay.
I might need some mod help in the future, just mods, if you're in the chat, with figuring out what they want, what the caller wants to talk about, so we know when to bring them in. Because now that we have a co-host, we might be talking about a bunch of different subjects. And if they want to talk about something we haven't talked about yet, that might be weird. So, again, we're figuring this out as we go. I hope you guys are enjoying it. I'm having a really good time with it. Fingers crossed here. This doesn't break anything. It shouldn't, but it might. Here we go.
I'm not getting fired next week. Yay.
Science is here. I didn't break anything. Nice. Science, can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear.
Sweet. All right, I'm happy you brought up the idea of bringing in mods to help identify what people want to talk about, because I thought of something when you were talking about master modes and multi-crew and combat and whatnot, and that's when I popped in. But now you've moved on a little, so it's a little awkward. But if you're not,
no, backtracking is fine. Forward tracking is what I might be like. Well, we weren't ready to talk about that yet, kind of thing. So yeah, what'd you think about it?
Gotcha. So it reminded me of, there's a video I watched that did a really good job of summarizing a lot of my thoughts that I had on what multi-crew is like for combat in Star Citizen and the problems it had. And I'm just gonna plug it. It's not mine, but I'm gonna take a lot of points from the video, so I want to credit to Birthday Truck's video, Star Citizen's 2-seat fighter problem. And the main thing he brings up is that Star Citizen designs a lot of its fighters around real-world fighter aircraft. The problem is that the physics system that they fight in is more like helicopter combat. And then they design their larger ships like naval ships. And so you have this problem of like, oh, they put, like ball turrets on the top of their fighter aircraft, because that's where a lot of, fighters and bombers and aircraft would put their turrets back in the World War II era. The problem is that that's because of, in that era, they have to constantly be going forward, and combat is usually either, like, the person shooting at those aircraft is usually behind them or consistently in one direction, and from either behind, from above, from the side, not usually in front. If they're in front, you shoot them with the main gun. But helicopter combats what Star Citizen combat is like, because you are in a 0G situation and you have that full degree of movement.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, his proposals were the turrets should be on the bottom, so they can have a more similar viewpoint to the pilot. Because in Star Citizen, like, pointing your ship at the enemy is not the problem. Whereas in fighter combat, real world, that's like the entire problem. Everything about a fighter aircraft, World War II and modern, is about getting the enemy in front of you, which is putting them on the defensive and just getting that one kill shot. And so the problem that Star Citizen runs into is they physically design their ships for that, when that's not the problems that they encounter. And I'm wondering if, like, how... I haven't had a chance to touch the master modes yet, but I'm wondering how that affects that, or if that's now going to be exacerbated or solved, or if you guys had any thoughts on that.
When you describe, I never realized that they fly like helicopters until you just said that, and obviously, but it just never, the light bulb never went off. That would be my feelings, is that it is exacerbated a bit, the helicopter feeling. And yeah, maybe they have to move some turrets around and things like that with those type of ships. I know, man, I mean, ever been a pilot on a ship with a turret at the top, right? Can you nose down a little bit? Can you nose down a little bit? I can't see the target. I can't, because you're the pilot, you're trying to put them center of your screen because you're shooting too. And Yeah, I've certainly felt that. I'll definitely check that video out as well.
Whereas almost every aircraft that actually had a turret of some kind was because the pilot's not really supposed to be shooting. It's usually a bomber that is flying straight and level trying to do a bomb run, or it's an aircraft that's considered not able to turn with the other aircraft, and
Mhm.
so the turret is the only one who can engage. And so then then the turret usually has a pretty wide degree, and also on those ones, the turret is able to shoot straight forward. So
Yeah.
anytime where if it was a heavy fighter, if the pilot can engage with his main gun, so can the turret.
Yeah, I think
It made sense.
the use of the what are they called? What do they call the turrets when you're in a random seat somewhere but you see the visual of where the guns are? Remote turret.
Remote turret.
Yeah,
yeah.
like the having remote turrets but have them be more near the cockpit, I think is making a lot making a lot of sense. But yeah.
And the Redeemer almost has this, I feel like.
Yes.
I've only been in a bit, but it was designed to be in a what's it called? A dropship slash it's meant to attack the ground. Gunship.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they modeled it after gunships, which a lot of gunships share design with attack helicopters, because attack helicopters are primarily gunships. And so it that's why they picked up on it, because they designed it after aircraft that flew in the similar physics system. And so I'm actually hoping that if they do end up settling, okay, here's what master modes is, here's how flight's going to be, they can at least maybe then start being like, now that we know what the flight model is going to be, we can start designing ships accordingly.
Yeah, I think the so like yeah the crux of the point, like you said, and the video, was about these two-seat fighters, which is definitely where a large part of the issue is. Gunships don't have that issue. Like the Hammerhead, the Redeemer don't have that issue necessarily. They have other issues that make the like 8 fighters versus them a much more one-sided fight. That I do think gets actually a little bit solved with master modes, just because you're slowing down combat in general.
Yeah, I really want to see what
but
that
yeah.
looks like.
And
Yeah.
Turrets
not to interrupt,
versus
but
light
because,
fighters.
like I said, the large ships are based around like ships as in boats, and so
Yeah.
what I would like to see is the larger ones, their turn rates and everything slowed down significantly,
Mhm.
so that it's like, hey, you give them full 360 view and everything, but they're not spinning around flying. Because right now, like any time I've gone and attacked one of the larger ships, it just felt like I had a bigger target. Like, yeah, they were
Yeah.
slower, but it didn't. It still felt like I was just fighting a bigger, like fighter ship. Like it was still a flying ship and whatnot. I want it to feel like a boat that I'm making passes at, because you want the
Yeah.
differences in kind to your combat.
Yeah, I will say one large ship that sort of does explain exactly what you're saying is the A2. You have no visibility from like any of your turrets, and you're quite fast anyway. Like you're moving around quite fast, but like it's kind of still just there just to bomb, despite the fact that it has like something. It's something absurd. It's like 12 size 4, size 5 weapons, right?
It's wild. I didn't know it had
Well,
that
it should
many
be
until I
just
played with Voidy.
I thought the weapons are for defense.
Yep. But
Right?
guess what?
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Guess what? We were taken out by a single Gladius with distortion guns in a fully crewed A2.
Yeah.
So, but
yeah,
stock.
it's one thing that we'll just see. I don't even think we have enough large ships at the moment to see how they're going to fit into the process. We've really only got, the Hammerhead, the A2, the Redeemer, if you consider it large enough, and then everything else that's like that size is not there to take down a bunch of fighters, right? So, that'll be interesting to see. But 100% on the yeah, a lot of the heavy fighters feel wrong after what you've just said. So now I really want to watch that video. I want to see more of that explanation, because that's 100% how it seems.
Yeah, they want everything to
you want me
look
to
like
link in
something
the chat?
familiar. It's been linked in the chat already. Zelaya official in chat
please.
goes, I had it bookmarked, so here it is. So yeah, I'm grabbing it and throwing it into mine. I'm hoping it doesn't autoplay, because I don't want to lose it either. So you guys can can have it, but yeah, it's gonna autoplay. So I'll just grab it. If you can DM it to me, Science, that would be awesome. So I'll put it in the description for everybody so they can check it out themselves too. And yeah, I don't know if is there anything else that you want to talk about, Science? Are you in wave 1 or wave 2 or?
No, I'm not in any of the waves. I've even sometimes avoid PTU, just like I'll wait for it to be full release. But I keep my eyes out and watching. So master modes is something I'm excited about because I personally, and in the video, the conclusion is, hey, these ships should be designed around helicopters to match the physics mode. I'm like, I personally would enjoy it if they alter the physics to make it behave like more real life aircraft in atmosphere. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't expect that to happen. They're making a space game. They're probably going to want to keep this combat to be space combat.
Yeah.
But for me, I know that aircraft, in-air atmospheric combat is something that exists in real life, and so we know a lot about it, and it's super interesting and really fun to do. So that's what I would prefer them to model it after. But the conclusion from the video that I think is probably the more correct one for everyone else is to model them after the physics that they currently have. And I'm curious to see how Master Modes does in that, because I was hoping the Master Modes would hey, maybe it'll feel a little bit more like real life atmospheric, energy maneuvering and everything, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a good thing from Zero State. I think it was Zero State, where it's closest sort of comparison in like all of the games that we've been playing and whatnot is Elite Dangerous. It feels a little bit more, the maneuverability feels a little bit more like Elite Dangerous now, which I don't like, but I don't think it's quite as drastic. So that's probably what we can expect, and then just tunings off that.
Yeah, Icy Jones in chat said control surfaces. Let's not forget that too. We might end up getting more physics-based flying, like plane flying with that, but who knows?
Yeah. I do hope that in-atmo combat turns into atmospheric real-life combat, because it should, and I do hope that we see more differences on that. I want ships that are designed for specific things and to pick the right tool for the job, not to have one thing always be the right decision.
Well, all right, Science. I guess we'll let you go, and thanks for calling in. And I'll see you in our org fun. Later, man. Bye. Yeah. So again, I think just pointing out about the podcast in general. That was one caller, right? In typical answer the call days, I would sit here and go, all right, here's what I think is an interesting subject. I would talk about it for a while, and I would go, does anybody want to talk with me about that? And a lot of times, people aren't content creators. They're not comfortable coming on and talking and all that stuff, maybe as much as we are about anything. And most would just nodders. Nopers. Nope, not going to happen. And just and not come. So I would just not have a show. So everybody claps it for Croncy, because we're going to have a show more consistently now, because we could talk about whatever, right? It doesn't have to be a specific subject, super stuck to that to try to get people to call in on that specific subject. So, hey, what did you do this week? It could be that.
We had a specific topic that we had decided on, and so we ended up talking about 320 for an hour and 20 minutes.
Yes.
It's just easier. That's what it is, Mike. It's just easier.
It's so much easier. Let's talk about that. Let's spend 10, 15 minutes on that subject, because it's the reason you're here. For me, it was the thing that I felt I disagreed with you the most, and that I think would add to a nice, great show is us to not be the same person. If I had somebody else come on, we would agree with everything and it wouldn't be interesting. And the one thing that I really thought I adamantly disagreed with in our conversations in DMs, maybe not as much, but the was about in-game events and the level of protection that maybe the game provides or streamers should get. This is a relevant subject to today, even though the video you made was from 2 months ago, maybe approximately.
Like a month ago, yeah.
Month ago.
Yeah.
It you know, these things are happening consistently. It's happening again with Nabel, and I didn't agree with his takes very much at all on Spectrum. So, you know, I guess give your background and you know, your feelings on, I guess, the subject, but I don't know what the subject is. Is it streamers getting special privileges?
Yeah, it's a bit abstract, right?
Right? Yeah. So
first off, I have a history in tournament organization.
okay.
There's just for some background. So for like how long? About 7 years, I was running and organizing tournaments for Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Warhammer and all these sorts of things. You know, helped organize a 3,000 person tournament, all that sort of stuff. And I love that sort of stuff. I love organizing the events as long as no one talks to me, because they're probably going to complain. I'm going to be like, well, that wouldn't have happened unless something. So anyway.
Yeah.
So when I first started streaming, I was like, all right, well, how, you know, everyone needs to find their niche. So originally what I was doing was I was running Star Citizen tournaments.
Yep.
And they were like fun and jokey and whatnot, right? So I would, one of the ones that I ran was like a death race every 2 weeks. That was a ton of fun and whatnot. For the record, I've probably run over 50 Star Citizen events. I've never once been griefed. Or what I would call griefing.
Yes.
Because that's an important distinction. But at the very least, I've never once felt like I've been griefed. And sometimes I'd had to plan for it, as in like preparation for it, and then it just didn't happen. Then I think it was like September last year or something like that. Whenever they turned the player count into 100, I think it was around this time last year. I started to get a little concerned. I saw Star Citizen itself, the chat, start to become a little bit more toxic. I saw people complaining about getting, once again, what I would consider griefing. I saw people complaining about what I would consider griefing a lot. And also people complaining about things that are 100% not griefing. And so I was getting a little bit concerned, like, hey, what's happening to... Like, we need to be careful about what's happening to the servers and stuff. And I remember you actually reacted to it.
Yeah.
And
I had a weird take.
I
had a weird one. I was like, toxicity means that like more people are playing the game.
Yeah, 100%. And you're never going to get rid of it. That's just not a thing that happens. But I feel like because we're in this unique position in Star Citizen where, you know, everyone knows everyone. Like, it's not just streamers knowing everyone. Like, I see randos talking to each other in Global who are like, hey, I saw you doing mining yesterday, whatever. That we have a situation that because everyone's so close, we can try to mitigate it, some stuff. But also, CRG need to do X, Y, Z.
Yes.
Was sort of my thing, right? So that was the start of it. Then in July of this year, it started popping up again. Now, a lot of that would have been game got a little bit boring. There was not much going on. You know, like I said, there was no dynamic events going on. We were waiting on a major patch, all that sort of stuff. And so there were people running events again. I originally... God damn, this has so much background lore. So Avenger One posted a video that was like how to prepare for pirates, which I think in general is always a really good idea. Doesn't matter if you're doing cargo, mining, whatever.
Really good video.
You should always, fantastic video. You should always have that sort of stuff in the back of your mind.
Yep.
But I was wondering, I was like, well, like a lot of people don't prepare because it just doesn't happen enough for it to be relevant.
Yep.
So I did like this poll and I was like, hey, like, how many times have you been pirated? How many times have you been, like, spawn camped, blah, blah, blah. And the vast majority of people were telling me that they hadn't been pirated, or if they had been pirated, they were, like, fine with it for the most part. Mm-hmm. Like, mad, but not, like, more like kicking themselves that, you know, it happened to them. The majority of people who were responding negatively to it were like, no, I was getting spawn camped, or I was getting, you know, chased across servers, that sort of thing. And so I was like, well, that's interesting. Now there's a lot of things there about, like, you know, the people responding to this poll are my followers, my subscribers. So there's a large, like, you know, it's going to be people that likely agree with a lot of the same stuff I agree with.
Yep.
But that happened. And then like 2 weeks later, we had 2 instances of like these things happening publicly. One was in an event that I commentated, which was the System 7,
Yep.
where we had someone ram a competitor, someone outside of the event ram a competitor. And then there was the big event, which most people know of, which was posted all over Twitter and everything, where they were doing a 30v30v30 tank event that got, well, honestly, griefing isn't the correct word. I guess got crashed.
Yep.
And so I was like, the way that I saw some people responding to it was really weird to me. So I've always had the idea of Star Citizen, you should 100, and I think, Mike, we actually have disagreed on this.
Okay.
I've said, I think you should always, in everywhere you are in Star Citizen, no matter where, except for maybe a tutorial zone, someone should be able to kill you for no reason.
Yeah, I absolutely disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the EVE Online approach. That essentially what
Yep.
I like. Yeah.
I never played EVE, so I never got to appreciate an MMO that had that. So I don't have that background. I come from backgrounds of, other MMOs where there's always a safe zone and there's always a place to show your wares or whatever, right? Like those are the types of games that I played, and that is where I was. Now, I don't think that those. I think the best example for me is Albion Online. That's the only like live game that I can think of how I would like to see Star Citizen, where we can use Pyro, then because I think they're all connected too. Pyro, Stanton, and Terra. I believe they're all 3 connected, or at least very closely connected. And Albion's a very open world, full loot PvP game, sort of. There's blue zones, yellow zones, red zones, and I think black zones. And then there's all sorts of other PvP areas that you can go to. But in order to get from one town to another, and each town specializes in like wood or stone and ore and so each zone specializes in different things. If I want to sell my stuff for more money, I have to travel my stuff from one zone to another, but I have to go through the dangerous zones to get there. I can't always go through a blue zone. Blue zones, you cannot be attacked by anybody. Yellow zones you can, but you don't lose anything. Red zones you can, but you lose everything. So that's the difference, and that's my perfect Star Citizen, is that you get the really good stuff in Pyro, have to fly through Stanton, dangerous, but a little less, to get to Terra to finally sell your stuff where you're safe. That's how I feel. I just feel like a player should be able to go AFK and take a fucking piss. I just feel like people should be able to hang out and look at their ships without a bomb not dropping on them. That's just my feeling. But in that place, you don't make any money. There's no Quantanium there. There's no really good missions. It's just a place. It's just a hangout. Players are just hanging out. That's it. Maybe you sell the stuff from the good places, but you're not taking anything really from there and bringing it back and selling it in Pyro, right? It's just a hangout. That's my feelings on it, and I'll always adamantly disagree with anybody that feels otherwise. But with the understanding that people love EVE, so there's got to be something good there with it, right? Like, I'm not going to say you're dead wrong. There's no way. I've never experienced it. From my experiences, my life experiences with games, I love that, and that's what I would want to see happen. But if it doesn't happen that way, I'm not going to stomp my feet and leave the game. That's not something that's going to keep me from playing personally.
Yeah.
But it will keep a lot of people from playing. You could see it. You just look at our community. Our community aren't EVE players either. Do you think they're, this, like, what do you think about that? Like, some played EVE, but a lot, dude, people came and don't even, the PTU thing, they don't even play the fucking game, bro.
Yeah. I loved your reaction to, I don't remember his name now, but you had a reaction like 2 weeks ago to someone talking about it. And it was just very funny, being like, you don't play the game. Why do you care in this instance?
Because you just don't want your toy taken away from you or whatever. You want to,
Yeah.
I understand, like, you spent a lot of money and you feel you deserve everything because you spent a lot of money, but like my whole argument is you already got you get all the advantages when the game comes out. Why do you want all of the advantages all the time? Like the people who are helping the game probably
Yeah.
deserve the advantages in these situations. You help the game in another way. You're going to get your advantage at some point, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to wait for wipes. You're going to have all your ships. You'll be fine. So, I don't know.
So quickly back on topic though.
Yes.
Because I know people in the comments are going to be saying stuff about opinions that I don't actually have.
Yes.
You're going to be very disappointed, Mike. That used to be my opinion.
Okay.
Is that we should have that pretty much evolved in July.
Okay.
So I was of the opinion that you should be able to attack everyone everywhere, whatever, that sort of stuff. Hey Mike, have you ever gone to the EVE Online category on Twitch?
Yeah,
you haven't because no one has.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a YouTube video about EVE? Maybe someone's talking about the best loadout for a thing, but you never see that anywhere.
There's tons of.
Have you ever seen any cool community things ever happen in EVE? Other than massive wars, which happen pretty much annually on a specific date at this point.
Okay.
Just doesn't exist. The community is kind of garbage. And not because the people in EVE are garbage. They're fantastic people. It's because the way that the game is made, because those safe zones don't exist, there's just less there's less dynamic content to happen.
Do you know what's funny? Somebody gave you a W in chat because of what your take that everybody should be able to get killed everywhere. I wonder what they're feeling right now. Are they taking the W back and pulling out the L? And
revoke the W.
Yes.
So my sort of opinion on that had changed, and so like I made a video talking about like I was really sad to hear about what's happening to these events, and I'm really hoping that like that stuff doesn't keep happening.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a big thing that a lot of people misconstrued about my opinion there is I do want CIG to solve it with mechanics.
Yeah.
That's a very important thing. I don't want to. I think I had messed up in the video. I started talking about moderation, but I was trying to talk specifically once again about how, general chat can become an absolute pit at a lot of times. And there needs to be ways to, say, hey, that's not cool. Maybe don't do that. And with like reports and stuff. But that was supposed to be unrelated to the event stuff. I think events are incredibly community events for every video game, especially MMOs, are incredibly important because they grow communities. They allow the people in the game to become get a lot closer together, right?
Yeah.
And Star Citizen has been fantastic for that when the events have worked. And honestly, some of the complaints that I did have back in July are literally fixed with 320. Like we have Arena Commander now that solves a lot of things, right? I can do a tank battle and I don't have to worry about security.
Yeah.
Right. So, that is exactly the kind of things that I do want there to exist to fix them. Now, one big thing though, that I saw, in your response to Knievel.
Yeah.
So he had an event. What was it, last weekend? It was pretty recently.
Apparently I got one thing wrong. They weren't at Area 17. That's what some people were saying in chat, but that keep going on. Yeah, I don't know what you're getting into, but that was the one thing that I got corrected on a lot.
But yeah, so he had an event, absolutely massive creator, had an event. He said the word sponsored by CIG, which was... It is not technically incorrect, but it is a misleading word.
Yeah, very, I think.
Because, presumably he was given the prizes for the event from CIG.
Yeah,
and I know that because that's happened with us in the past.
Yeah, you can just ask, and they'll do it sometimes. Sometimes they won't, maybe. But if you're doing something, you can reach out to a community manager. They're usually pretty open to helping out with stuff like that.
Yeah, I was just slightly off topic. Yeah, I was really surprised. I went to DreamHack last year, and I was streaming DreamHack, streaming Star Citizen at DreamHack, and I messaged, I messaged Xylo, and I was like, "Hey, I want to do this giveaway and I'm going to buy it, but it'd be just letting you guys know like that I'm going to be doing this, and I'll almost definitely be the only person streaming Star Citizen there. And then Zyla was like, yeah, right, here's $600 worth of ships. And I was like, oh, okay, you got it, buddy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they're good about that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. They're very supportive.
So quote unquote, very quotation sponsored.
Yeah, very, very heavy quotation sponsored. The event got crashed, which, like I said, just is a thing that's happening more and more now. It is not up to the crashers to solve this, though. It is up to CIG and the players to solve this. As in, like, the players being affected.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's sort of where we're at. The biggest thing I will say, though, is I am actually conflicted on an opinion I do have about this, which is if CIG are giving you prizes and they are posting your stuff on, whether it be Twitter or a Spectrum thread, whatever it might be, like a public space, I do think you need to be really careful. Because even if I'm posting my event publicly, CIG have a significantly bigger reach.
Yeah.
So I would honestly, even in situations like that, I may even prefer CIG to not post about it at all. Because like maybe that'll bring in those people that'll crash the event. But other than that, I'm having a great time, and I definitely did not cry after reading the comments from that video.
Oh yeah, don't read the comments. I read them, but that's why I'm mentally, falling apart on a regular basis these days, because I can't not read the comments, but I tell everybody not to because it's just so brutal. Especially if you have a take that people disagree with. Like I'm getting hit hard with the safe zone one in my comments a lot. I've seen it a lot more lately. I just, for me, there's got to be, CIG has to do something, but CIG also has to maybe, fuck man, it's so hard. Like you don't want them to define what griefing is, because then everybody will go up to the line. But dude, that's what these players are trying to figure out, is where the line is. And as far as I can tell, there is no line for CIG to ban, because they don't ban. Like
pretty much regardless of infraction. Like it doesn't matter what it is. Yeah, it's
really bad. And I think that's a really problematic showing. And I'm not calling for the people who necessarily, I'm not calling for them at all to be banned. Actually, I don't think there's literally anything wrong with what happened with Nable's event necessarily, other than if you are following server to server, I think we're borderlining on the word harassment at that point.
Yeah.
And I don't know where CIG wants to go with something like that, but they're the ones who are going to decide. If it happens to me, I'm not going to Spectrum making a huge thread about it and trying to get the pitchforks out, because it's, in the end, it's up to CIG to do something about it. They're the ones who are making the game rules, and their game rules allow all of these things to exist. That's it. So if anything, thank you, griefers, for griefing, and hopefully the game rules will be appropriately adjusted for people to have fun in your game. And because it's, I don't know what else to say in that situation. Is we're lucky that we're not playing the game yet, because if we were, nobody would want to play this. Is sort of where I'm at. I mean, that's what we went on with Eve. Maybe they will want to play it, but certainly from a content creator's perspective, I guess nobody would want to play it on stream or anything like that, and that never helps the game. It certainly, I don't know if it hurts it, but it certainly doesn't help it.
Well, it certainly doesn't. Think about how many
sniping's
people
getting worse. I don't agree with that, but yeah.
I wouldn't know if I've ever been stream sniped. They've either been too bad or I'm just too dumb to notice. So I don't agree the stream snipers is getting worse.
It's impossible to tell.
But I do think that they target specific people is the other issue. Right?
I thought I got stream sniped by DJ today in Gun Rush. I was on the I was at Carrick.
Sorry, you died to DJ?
No. Yes, a lot actually. I was on the top. I was on the top of the evidence locker at Korea.
Yep.
And I was like killing a couple people, and I was doing good. And I'm like, yes, this feels good. And then he just comes out of nowhere. Like, I was up there for maybe 30 seconds, like the appropriate time for the stream to be watched and be like, oh, he's up there, and go get him. And like, he's typing in my chat, so he is watching the stream and listening at the same time. And I'm like, did he go there and get me? And but he's like, no, I didn't. I swear. And it's like, okay, I believe you, right? But in that moment, it feels like, how can it not have been, right? And it's the worst thing you could do as a creator is be like, I was stream sniped, because most likely you weren't.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
The vast majority of the time, stream snaps.
I don't
but
believe
I have
him, though.
heard stories.
He stream
I've
sniped,
heard
100%.
stories. Yeah, well, yeah, DJ. God mode stream snipe Mike.
Okay,
Easy.
I was in Gun Rush, and one of them, I was in Gun Rush with him and Mark Abent, and somebody was dropping A2 bombs in Gun Rush. Just saying. Okay? Something was going on there.
Someone in my chat said that there was just like a
morphologist.
fury out there somewhere at one point today, which I was like, why is there a fury in the thing? Anyway. Yeah, so I have heard stories from people who it does sound like they have been targeted by stream snappers, but that's not a Star Citizen thing.
Yeah,
that's a streamer thing.
Yep.
If you start like calling out like people as stream snappers all the time, and you start giving a reaction, there's literally, I don't think, anything anyone can do in the world to prevent that from happening, other than you kind of either ignoring it or trying to be just okay with what's happening. They'll stop. So it's a shit situation regardless, but
there's no win.
Yeah, how do you
gets hurt
out of it otherwise?
Yeah. Somebody gets hurt, right? There's people that really want the game to be super open and sandbox, and I get it, but for me, just in some situations, like, how can we have that? How can we be down at Area 18, just, grabbing a hot dog to eat, and somebody being able to just like come behind you and club you in the head? It just doesn't feel right. But then at the same time, how can you have a bounty hunter with a bounty that is allowed to just sit in a safe zone and, wiggle their head at you and laugh? So there's got to be something to give. I don't, but it's going to be in CIG's court. I think I will always go back to this. I've said it on my podcast and in much of my content. Is there were two devs, they're now former devs of CIG, but they were in my Discord discussing what good feedback is. What good feedback is saying this was fun and why, and this was not fun and why. They do not need you to tell them how to fix the thing. They're the game dev. They know once they get the feedback, typically how to fix the thing, right?
Yeah.
I found out, I was talking to Torsten actually, and I found out that he was like fairly new when he came in to do the original mining change when they brought the gadgets in. Like, he hadn't been working there that long. So but look at what he's done with once he got the feedback, right? It's like, all right, he got the feedback, he listened to it, and he honestly did better things than I would have suggested, because he's the game dev, right? Like, it makes sense. So you just give the feedback and you say what works and what doesn't for you, and they can figure out a way to make it fun, right? And a game and work within the confines of their engine or whatever, right? That's them. And I think just yelling about what CIG needs to do isn't the answer. I think it's more, we clearly have an issue here, Yeah. And the ball's in your court, and you got to do something about it soon. Again, I don't think it's banning people. I don't think it's necessarily, I think it is a game rules solution. What those rules look like, doesn't matter what I say, right? I'm just an idiot.
It matters a little bit, because it matters what everyone says, right? Like, it matters what your experience is in the verse, and
but that's what matters, what your experience is. But I don't consider myself qualified on how to make it better. But I still think it's hard
Mike,
to say.
Don't you have like 15,000 hours in this game?
Probably, but I still suck. I'm still terrible at every aspect of it. And you can make suggestions of like I absolutely made the suggestion that there's no way that instability should affect laser power. That is the dumbest thing ever. That's not how it should work. And yes, is that what happened? Yes. Does that mean that it's because what I said? I don't think so. It was probably already in the process of happening anyway when they realized the instability bug isn't really a bug at all. It was just affecting the thing how it's supposed to. But all right. I mean, we're coming towards the end here. We just had somebody pop in. We'll take a call and then we'll say our goodbyes. So Zelaya, you're muted right now. I hope if you hear me, we're gonna pull you in and see how this goes, because this is I think this is a first time caller, so we'll have to see. Zelaya, can you hear us? You are muted right now. It might be like push to talk. I hear you, but I see that you're trying to talk, but your mic's not working. There we go.
Sorry, I have I have the stream and I was listening too much.
Yes, the delay. No problem.
Okay, my thing is mostly as Croncy was saying, you need consequences for allowing people to shoot others in the cities. So the game has no consequences. You can fire people, you can pick an H2 and you can bomb the tank event, and you have no consequences. So if you want to have a game like Eve, you need to have consequences. You have to have real consequences.
Yeah.
You could lose your ship, not permanently, but like for a week maybe. You need a better prison. You need consequences. You don't have consequences. You don't lose anything. The only people that lose is the victim.
Is prison a good enough consequence? I think is the real question here.
It's a different. I think it needs to be prison plus extra things.
Yep.
Right. Like, so I really like what they've done with prison in general, making it an actual gameplay loop that, can be quite fun, especially if you're trying to escape and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, there's like no real consequences right now because it's way too easy to get out of that situation and then right back into it because we're all still in Stanton.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the thing. A solution. This is why the solution to these and they better be in-game mechanics. For example, you're probably going to end up in a situation where the place that you are, being a bad boy, is significantly further away from the prison or significantly further away from your respawn point. Like possibly, right? That means you're probably not going to spend the next half hour after that traveling back to that destination to do the same thing again. Situations like right now, there's no real actual response times from security. It takes something like 5 minutes, and it has to be like after a lot. Like there's like a trigger amount of how many homicides or like not aggravated assault, but whatever it is when you shoot a ship. Has to happen before NPC security comes in. Turrets are nothing. Turrets are just practically non-existent around armistice zones, and they just don't do anything. And so all of that is just like, they obviously do want to make people not want to do these things, or at the very least, they want to make sure that they can't just spam it over and over again. But currently, those measures are not enough. And it's probably going to be a while until they are.
Yeah, I mean, for me, before you jump in, Zelaya, the big and I'll just say this thing real quick and let you speak. But the big thing for me is that long-term reputation is with the mission team, because going to prison and getting out and it just being like nothing ever happened to you in the Stanton system or in any system is just silly. Right. So for me to be labeled as a murderer and have that reputation carry you all over the place is very much like the open world sort of full loot MMOs that I've played before. Is you get these murder counts and then all of a sudden the game mechanics change a little bit for you and you go into stat loss when you die and you have to regain those skills, or you're less effective for a while. Obviously we can't have that in a non-RPG game like this, but we can start to see. So that is, example of feedback. Like, I love that about those games. Maybe we can find a way to do something like that in Star Citizen. But go ahead, Zelaya. I'm sorry.
No, relax. There is another thing. When you go to prison, you get your ship and your gear. You should lose your gear and your ship.
God. I know.
Yeah, that is a bit weird.
It's the only. If you kill a lawful player, you can loot them. You kill a unlawful player, they keep their stuff. It's like that's the only reward I get.
Yeah. It's not just that, but it's also like, you know, my ship was destroyed when someone was trying to come get me. Why can't I just pull it out?
Yep.
That's not like, at least make me claim timer. Like, you know.
Yeah. There's not even a claim timer.
Just a bit silly.
Yeah. 100%.
And it's also when if you die outside your ship and your ship get destroyed, you get your ship repaired. It don't matter how you die, you get your ship back. You get a ship back regardless.
Yeah,
I think it's okay to get your ship back in general, just because, you know, you don't want people to stop playing the game. But like, like in some, it shouldn't be in this pristine condition and you have all your gear and all that sort of stuff. That's just kind of weird. Even if it was like, yeah, look, your ship and your gear at the very least are now at your home station. And so it's just, you know, it's effort for you to go do that. I think that
there's a mention in the chat. The people also
don't read
that,
the chat.
no, but it's interesting. The prison is just designed for peace PvP players. Here is the issue. If you go to prison, let's say, okay, the consequences is you need to pay for impounding for your ship because your ship is impounding. You need to lose your gear because you committed a crime. When you commit a crime in real life, they seize the stuff related to the crime.
But they related to the crime, yes, but they do give you your clothes and your phone and those things back. So I think that's sort of what they're trying to simulate is like you went to prison and then at the end of every, you know, movie where the guy gets out of prison, they give them the stuff back. But in a game like this, you're not the cops, and when you kill him, you didn't arrest them, right? So like if you loot them, that seems okay. I don't know. It's a weird one. They kind of I think they're trying to simulate the prison thing, though.
Yeah. That sounds right. I do think there's certainly a way that you could bring in, once we eventually find out what insurance does.
Yeah.
Certainly a way you could bring that into the equation, where it's like, hey, you know, I did have insurance, as long as it's not LTI, whatever it is, in-game insurance. I had in-game insurance when I was, you know, committing crimes. My ship got disabled, whatever. I'm gone to prison. I come back. My insurance premiums have come up. Now I have to pay more, or I don't have insurance on that ship at the moment, that sort of thing. It would also be, I feel like, a pretty decent way of, it's not necessarily about making it harder to be, because this affects all criminals. Yeah. It's not necessarily about making it harder to be a criminal, but making it where there are somewhat appropriate punishments that don't want to make you stop playing the game. It's such a hard mechanic to get right, and it's always going to be.
Yeah. I don't think they'll ever get this perfect.
Yeah, no.
The only thing I had to say to end, it's criminals are the only one who gets caught. You had people in the mafia years ago who got arrested do it because taxes, but there was no crime committed. The government
no violent crimes, you mean?
For murder. Yeah, no violent crimes. So people need to be smart to be a criminal, and we only have dumb criminals.
Oh no! I think some of them are pretty smart.
What I got from that was bring in tax evasion, CIG, you cowards.
Yes.
But have your friends in the pirate, or they are smart. They let other people to carry the cargo.
Yeah. So they're not criminals, they're pirates,
so
right?
That's smart.
Yeah.
They're pirates, but they're committing a crime in game.
Yeah.
So that's smart, but there's too much dumb people, and you need to filter with in-game mechanics.
Okay.
To force them to be smart. That's all. That's my opinion, my feedback.
Well, I like it. I like it a lot. So Zalea, I'll put you into the caller dump, but thank you for your call today. And it was eye-opening, I would say, because I didn't think of some of those things. I always thought I was the dumb one, but it's the criminals.
We're all fantastic law-abiding citizens, 100%.
Of course, never done any piracy in my life, but yeah,
I don't
guess
even know what Ghost Hollow is.
True. I guess this is where we end it. We're right at about the 2-hour mark. And Croncy, how was it? How was your second time on the podcast for your first time? I will say, just like general feedback.
Actually, the third time on the podcast, Mike.
Is it really? Been doing this for a lot of years. I apologize. What I will say is just feedback for you. I love that you took initiative to like take the mic, take the reins, and be like, all right, I'm talking now, kind of thing. Because I can get very, I think, overwhelming to people at times. So I think like right away, you were like, yes, I'm a co-host, and just did it. So I appreciate it. And I thought this was like one of the easiest 2-hour ATCs I've ever had. Normally at the end, I'm like, I'm exhausted trying to carry the conversation, and yeah, this was great. So thank you. I mean, how was it? How was it for you? I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I can finally be responsible for the downfall of another streamer. Let's go. This is
beautiful.
exciting.
Wait, who was the first one?
No, I meant like you are my first.
Oh, nice.
I'm going
nice.
to.
Beautiful.
But no, I appreciate all those words, and yeah, it was good. I was kind of curious how I would feel about the kind of caller format, because that's incredibly different to anything I've ever done before. But that was cool. It was
it's
really
scary because you don't know what's going to happen. But I have had only one bad call, and it wasn't even that bad. And all this time, I think
that's impressive.
Yeah, it's people. I mean, it's just easy. Somebody says something stupid, I just throw them in the caller dump. I have my hand on the mouse while they're talking. You know, it's not hard. It's pretty easy to moderate. So yeah, but
the one thing is that I wish we could have talked about 320 more, so that we could have baited everyone with the whole PvP discussion next week. That's the only thing I'm sad about.
What are we going to talk about next week? I'm sure somebody will do something stupid. Namely, CIG will sell something. And as a matter of fact, they were selling something. So we have plenty to talk about for next week. So we can start with that.
I really want to talk about, obviously not today, I really want to talk about Ship Showdown. I have opinions.
Oh, perfect. I mean, it's pretty much will be in like round 2-ish, right? By the time we get there.
the next 2 weeks, and then it finishes, I think.
Yeah. So it'll probably be a great time for it. You have opinions. I have opinions. So it'll be good. It'll be good. The community managers have a difficult job, but I also have opinions. So I'm apologizing now for my opinions next week. But I'll do the outro for this week. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Croncy, as always, thank you again for coming on and, well, being my co-host. This is awesome. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you are watching on Twitch, this will be up on YouTube at approximately like 2 hours from now, 2 p.m. Eastern time. And then if you are watching on YouTube and you ever want to participate in the show and join in, twitch.tv/SaltEMike, Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern time. So we'll stick to an actual time now because I have to be respectful of somebody's time instead of my own. So now I actually have to do it on a time. And discord.gg/SaltEMike to join in on the call. So thank you again, Croncy. Thank you for everybody for watching, and we'll catch you next week. Consistency. Hey.